So I saw the modern mystics thing to Matt, and Gary's reply to that, and Matt's reply. And it was making me think of talking about antinatalism, which, because once I think I realize what the disagreement is, I tend to stop arguing about the subject. I mean, what more is there to learn until maybe some more stuff builds up, people build up their formalism, and you can re-engage. But if I'm still making videos about something, that's an expression of, I think there's something I can understand about it more. So I was just thinking of giving my take, my summary, my understanding of what antinatalism means as far as I'm concerned. And there's also this bigger issue of the modern mystic and Gary. They actually take offense at sort of the poetic philosopher type. Now, I've talked to that in the past at length sometimes. I found that he did have a life is a dream-ish kind of take, life is made of consciousness kind of take, but he's empirical. In other words, if you think you're living in a dream, it doesn't mean you can't be scientific. It just means when you go, does this really exist? And you say yes, you think it exists as a little dream element. It can change some theories about things, and I'm 10 minutes into the Das Spook video, and he's talking about visions he's had on roofs where he ended up jumping off the roof. It can lead to theories like that, but it needn't. I mean, I am totally open to experiences like that, seeing those things, but I wouldn't jump off the roof. That's my materialism, right? I listen to my pets. They communicate with me. But if they told me to do something stupid, I wouldn't necessarily really believe it was them saying it. And even if I did, I wouldn't go do the thing. If I feel driven to do something, that could be a social pressure driving me. So rationality is measuring, but you can measure in your own experiences. The most reliable experiences are therefore the ones that can be measured the most, which are the ones that can be reliably reproduced. When you see something in the distance, or like a rainbow, if you only ever saw a rainbow one time, hard to know if it was real. But I mean, if you only saw a rainbow one time in your whole life, it could be a significant experience, and in that sense, it's real. Right? But if it's at the sea, you don't necessarily want to swim out to it. But anyway, antinatalism. So my take on antinatalism is this. I mean, obviously it's not going to take over in general because of political activism. People are brought to it on their own. And what I see is I've always had a mini fascination with this subject of animals that wouldn't breed in captivity in the way humans will breed in any situation. And with a lot of animals, hard to get them. It can be hard to even keep them alive, but then you're keeping them alive. They don't stop eating and die off. Some animals that react that way to captivity, but they won't do that. But they won't breed in captivity. I always thought that was an interesting phenomenon. And that's what I think antinatalism is. And there's relationship to certain kinds of aspects of nihilism, but not particularly significant, because most of your nihilism is just opportunistic cynics using skepticism to have a pat card to argue against everything. And so that's not what's going on in antinatalism. But see, I think it's like the human actually having this reaction of the society is not fit to reproduce in. And that's true. But to me, it just means we need to break out of the zoo. And if we don't, I imagine one of the dangers of mankind is that mankind will just lose its will to live entirely. And antinatalism is a compromise on that. It's like, well, I guess I can make it. This isn't the kind of place creatures like me should have to live. And that's what I think antinatalism is, so what more is there to discuss? Well, there's the rhetorical thing. I think the antinatalists are a good opportunity to talk about these issues of life and death, which can be difficult, because you can go online and go talk to this stuff, talk about this stuff to somebody who's on the edge of committing suicide. You want to do that? So this is a good realm to have this conversation. And the size of a group of people that are ethalists or antinatalists of any sort, to me that's a symptom of our social situation. I think that can't significantly be affected by marketing it. Any marketing of antinatalism is just going to get in touch with people that hadn't thought of that word, hadn't thought of it that way, but were already more or less in that mindset. It might feel like a revelation to them because it was just below the surface, and maybe hearing about it can bring it to them, make it conscious. Now, in personal experiences and theism and stuff, the issue is this. The reason I don't really believe in God is because, first of all, if you believe in one God, that's just your ego. You're just worshiping your own ego. That's the only oneness you have in touch with. Let me think what the one God thinks. I don't know, maybe it'll just be my oneness myself. So pantheism's slightly better, but it's still the same thing. You go out in the forest and you perceive it as filled with all these spirits. Some of them are nasty, some of them trying to snag you, and somebody else is in that forest having a totally different day. They walk by the same tree, and the tree has a different spirit for them. Again, it's the projecting of your mind. Again, I do that. I enjoy that a lot. I freely interact with the spirits of the forest. But I consider it interacting, my mind and the forest. And relativism helps with this, because then it's kind of like, you could go ahead and if some tree says you should get your dog a nicer bed, I can go get it. It doesn't really matter. It's like, was that real? No, it was just my idea. Or wait, it was real. Somebody else would have a different spirit, Doesn't matter. Relativism, I could say, doesn't matter. And when I'm adding things up, when I'm being rational, when it's a matter of my personal safety or the safety of others, I only have access to my own measurements. So I like things I can repeat. A lot of times people forget that when this so-called shared subjectivity or confirmation that you want to get from someone else, that's still a perception of yours. They're telling you. You still just have your own stream of perceptions, that other people are relaying things that are their stream of perceptions. Still comes to you in your stream of perceptions. So in other words, you have nothing but your own personal experiences to verify things on. And so that empiricism includes all your experiences. Rationality doesn't mean getting rid of certain kinds of experiences because of their flavor or their nature. Like seeing a rainbow. I don't have to go, well, that can't be real. It's too great. Right? It's about the consistency. You don't just have to say, I saw a ghost, I can't count that if I'm rational. No, you can. I mean, you should probably take into account that you're a part of the universe. You could see a ghost and nobody else could see it. It could be there for you and not for somebody else, and is physical, and your brain is physical, and it all comes down to, did you interact with it positively or not? And if you want to come up with theories that you think other people might find worthwhile, well, then you might want to start, using some of that evidence from other people and create these models in which you can posit something like a shared perception of something, even though you're going to do it all through your own perceptions. Cheers.